Hi everybody, this is Andrei, and today is a bit unusual video for the channel. I'm going to talk about one of my setups here in the studio, and frankly speaking, it's a bit dated. To be exact, it's like 25 years old, but I still find it useful because the workflow that it's designed for is still applicable for production today. And the centerpiece of that setup is the Mac OS9 that is running on a special hardware. I'm going to show this to you. And this, well, let's call it Porta Studio. That is the digital recorder that is Roland VS-1680. There are several machines of this kind that were produced from 96 from the 880 to the early 2000. I picked the specific one, this. I'm going to show you why. And the fact that it's not just connected to the Mac OS9, it actually works in a hybrid setup. The original vision how the Imagic Logic and Roland hardware works together. And that's what I think really makes special this type of the studio environment, that it's been designed with a specific, very specific idea in mind. And frankly speaking, what Imagic did back in the day is just unobtainable today, that you have such a deep level of integration with a hardware and with completely entirely different hardware that can run at the same time. So first of all, you'll see the screen that is Mac OS9. The computer is, well, under that couch actually, so you will not be able to see it, but I have exactly the same one here. And this is also a very unusual computer for the Mac OS9 running, because it's the first Mac Mini. It's based on the G4 CPU that is Apple was running up until 2005, right? 2006. And several years ago, the great community at Mac OS9 Lives designed, let's say, adopted Mac OS9 to be installed and run on this hardware. And in fact, this is the fastest, by all benchmarks, hardware that you can have for the Mac OS9 that has the single core, and that's running at a pretty decent speed. Let me show this to you. So we are at my computer here, and so you can see that is Mac OS 9.2, and let's open the Apple System Profiler. And this is what you can see. I have 1 GB of memory here. It's a single stick, and well, it's a PowerMark G4. It's detected as a G4 cube, but this is outstanding speed, 1.4 gigahertz. That is basically, well, impressive by all the means. Do I need this speed for what I'm going to show you? Absolutely not, because this can run on quite dated hardware as well, from the G3 and so on. And I'm using that mainly as a studio setup for this particular environment that you can see here. Also, quite a lot of Synclavier hardware, right? So that's the original VPK keyboard that is connected to the Region, which is the latest Synclavier development. And it has a specific, well, let's call it box that allows you to connect that VPK keyboard to the Region. So that's the original one that is 35 years old. I have over there the actual Synclavier PSMT tower that is currently off. That's why it's so quiet in the studio. But I can turn it on and I can switch between these two easily. So I can use the same keyboard to connect, to control both of these. Okay, so we can see then this is the OS9 setup, and I have this VS-1680 Roland connected here. It's connected over the MIDI, so you only need to have a MIDI connection. And honestly, of course, MIDI is slow, and so some of the communication that you will see is quite slow as well. And but it allows you to have a total integration. And to run the MIDI from these Mac Mini. I'm using USB ports, and that's connected to the Motu MPT AV 8x8 MIDI interface. I also have the audio interface connected, so that is another Motu 828 MK2. And the exciting thing that, well, I had that interface 15 years ago for a completely different setup, and I'm happy to go back to this because it's quite reliable and it has OS9 drivers, and it's connected over 5R. That also there is a port here, so absolutely it's a great setup. Of course, you cannot connect any PCIe cards to this, but this is not what we need for this. Anyway, let's take a look now why it makes so interesting to run these both together. So back in the day, Imagic produced a specific version of Logic called Logic VS, and that is based on the Logic 4. Logic VS is basically a stripped down version of the Logic 4 that has full audio support, but in that particular release it has no audio support, but it integrates for audio recording to these recorders externally. However, when you start operating this, you'll see everything in the total environment where you can run the MIDI tracks inside the OS9, and you can also sync to the to this recorder, but it feels like a real DAW. That's a great advantage. So now let's take a look on this, and I will show this briefly. Really, I don't need to stop on this because we will focus on the operation of a Logic Pro 6.4. That is 6.43. That is the latest official release of the Logic 6 for the Mac OS 9. And you previously have to have that rare key in order to run it. So this key is from the Logic 7, but it allows you to run all the features of a Logic 6. So you think like it's a super key for Logic 6 that activates everything. The truth is, you no longer need this because, again, the community of macOS 9 Lives has created just recently the emulation of this key, so I no longer need to run it. Okay, now let's take a look on the Logic. I will first show you what you have to do in order to integrate these two products together. And so that's a PDF of the Logic VS owner's manual, and I just scrolled to the section that we need. So what we need to do, we have to connect the MIDI cabling. We have to set up the Roland to the certain functions in the system menu. So that's the way we do that. We go here to the system menu, and then we configure that to the functions that you can see. So we have to enable SysX transmission in and out, so send and receive. We also have to enable the MMC and MTS. And depends how you do that. You might use that as a master, or you may use it as a slave. So now let's go back. Let's go first time to Logic, and I'll show you how that is that's done in this case. Also, just for full disclaimer, I'm running the screen capturing software here. That is like a VNC-like protocol, and I'm not sure how the system would be lagging, but so far it performs really well. So we will start Logic. So that's the original Logic VS that I don't know how it was supplied together with Roland. It feels like it just came together in a bundle. But if somebody remembers that, please let me know. Certainly, I don't remember any types of the activation information that I have to put there, so it's pretty much just install and ready to go. So I opened the Logic 4, and what we see is basically the setup. So first we have to do to the audio drivers, and this is where the main difference from the Logic 4 VS comparing to the Logic 4 4.8, for instance, that you only have one option for the audio driver through the VS, and this is where you select what type of the recorder you have. So it can integrate to 880, 880EX. Obviously, they are quite limited. I just didn't bother about this. And you have the 1680 in the list. However, as I remember, and please correct me again, so the VS-2480 has the 1680 emulation mode that it responds to the same commands that 1680 would do, and that makes me thinking that it should work as well in that setup. I don't have it here. Why I pick also the 1680? Well, this is kind of a good quality actually recorder because well, that they use AKM codecs here. They have the original hard disk that's based around this area, so that's IDE hard disk 2.5 inch internally. I no longer have it here. I replaced it to the SSD, so that runs through some special adapter that allows you to put the SSD through the converter and then connect to the standard IDE, and everything is packed really well in 2.5 interface, 2.5 inch enclosure. And so that's why, I mean, the speed is here. Speed is not a problem. The recorder is very responsive. Also, one of the typical issues with this recorder that the input level potentiometers, well, as well as the monitor and headphones output, well, are quite scratchy over the time. So and they're quite unusual, so they have quite a long shaft due to the design of these. I replaced all of these here, so that's really running well and smooth. Anyway, so enough on this. That's some of the work that I did for this, as well as some recapping and battery replacement. So everything is perfect with this. So now when we put that checkbox on a VS, it would start the communication immediately, the Roland, at least to detect this. And what you noticed that I just started and the basic template appeared, and that communication already happened behind the scene. You don't see it. If you have it, turn it off, it will tell you to turn it on first. What else you need to do? You have to specify how to connect to this. So for this, it obviously connects through the OMS, and you have to set what cable it's connected to. So this is my list of the cables of the ports, and so I have connected to the input 7 and output 7, and so have to put that checkbox, and that's it. So once you did all of that, you still see nothing, right? But this is funny, but you start seeing some audio track, and you see the 16 audio track. The reason for that is basically it shows you the audio track from the recorder. And let me put it to the display here. So that's what I currently have loaded. Just before starting the video, I recorded a simple, just a single sound, and recorded on the tracks 3 and 4 that are connected to the region here. And so it has 2 tracks already recorded. You don't see these tracks here on the interface. So what you do, you first go to the Get Playlist and Mixer Settings from the VS. And so you received the basic information. So what Logic now knows, it knows everything about the fader configuration, the current sends, receives to the aux channels, the configurations of the FX channels, and it knows the locations of the tracks, where the tracks recorded, where they started and ended. So that's why you see the track 3 and 4 here showing. What you don't see is the visual representation of that. So to get this visual representation, you have to do the next step. It's called Get Refresh Overviews. And this is why you typically don't do that often. That's why you have it in a separate menu. And you don't need to do that for the operation, because operation will work without these overviews. But these overviews basically allow you to see the actual waveforms of the come on, let's see. Yeah, it's here. Of the audio tracks that are recorded inside here. So that's a whole thing that Now, while inside quite light software, and let's check. So the well, the Logic only takes 14 megabytes of memory. All it does is just a MIDI communication, really. There is no audio. But this is basically completely synced in time to the recorder, and the waveforms representation also transferred over the MIDI. That's why if I wouldn't have like only 2 seconds here like I have, if I would have like a full song of a full 16 tracks, it will take enormous time to transfer this information. So that's why you don't need to do that often. You can still do editing of the sound data, trimming and cutting, pasting without that information. And so that is certainly is still enough. But the good thing also that these type of waveforms, they transferred in the background, and so it won't stop your workflow. You can still operate. It just takes long to show this. So now, for instance, if I want to remove these tracks, let's first. Let's remove it here. So I want to delete it, and you see that on the Roland screen, it immediately started communicating, and now tracks disappeared from the timeline here on the screen. So the data is gone. So that's how easily you can do it. Now, as we looked at the Logic 4, I don't want to stop here too much because this is like a boxed version. So now let's look on the extended features and what you can really do in the ultimate setup that I have here. We are starting Logic Pro 6. And the reason I'm doing that, multiple reasons. First of all Logic Pro versions, including Logic Audio 4 and then Logic Pro 5 and 6, they can communicate to the multiple audio interfaces at the same time. And that's why I have here the recorder. I also have the audio interface, and I can see and work through the various audio tracks. So if I run out of the available channels for this audio interface, I can still use the the Roland here with Logic. So now we need to do several things. We first, you see, it didn't get the response from Roland because Roland complained that it lost the audio sync. The reason for this, because I also have the recorder linked over the SPDIF output connected to the 828, so I don't need to do the individual analog outputs. Everything is connected over digital, and I can monitor everything coming from here or other devices connected to these using the same analog output. So that's a thing. And so it lost the sync because we were restarting this, and so now it recognized, but it still doesn't have a sync. So to get back to the sync, we go to the Shift System, and we go to, let me remind me, so that is for tempo sync, and we need to go to, here, system parameters. So that would be, please, enter. So that's getting the sync from the first SPDIF input from, again, both inputs and outputs connected between these two. So now it's taking the clock from these. All right. I know what's happening. So we need to start the project at the sample rate that it expects. I'm going to start this with the template that I just created, the basic template that loads a bunch of the stuff. And so with this template, it sets to the 48 kilohertz. The project here sets to the 48 kilohertz, and now they will be in a sync. It will take time to load the template because it loads a bunch of VST instruments and audio tracks and the FX tracks as well. So let's take a look here. I have several tracks here, but again, similar to the Logic 4, you can see the audio channels that belong to the VS, but at the same time, you can see audio channels that belong to the Moto interface. And this is what I think really great here. So let me turn off this plugin because it wants us to restart. Yeah, now it's all good. And so what I'm going to show you here, I'm going to show how quickly and easy to work in that environment. So not only well, now here in the audio hardware and drivers, we not only have the VS in the list, we also have the ASIO in the list, and that ASIO is running on the Moto driver. That's a whole trick, that it can run multiple things. And I'm doing the same on my Pro Tools 5 setup with a Pro Tools Mix and Logic 6.4 on that system, but this is really running everything basically CPU based plus Roland. So now let's play something. So that's the way I'm playing it. I'm playing it from the VPK directly to the region, so I'm not sending MIDI to Logic, just in this setup. And the audio is coming to the input 3 and 4 on the VS. So what we need to do now, we have to arm the tracks 3 and 4, which are linked to the stereo, to the record, and we'll be able to record that together. Also, I want to select the slave to sync here, and this is because my Logic will be slave, and that allows me to use these transport controls, and basically Logic will be following the same transport controls. So everything will be so tight and aligned together. Before starting, well, the menus here are a bit more complicated than the menus in Logic 4, but I have to start with the same, so I have to get the playlist and mixer settings. And obviously my playlist currently is empty, but it also received all the configurations for the audio channels and for the aux channels. So now with this I can record. So let me do this, and let's see, that's enough. So it's recorded. You can see that on the Roland screen. You see nothing here. And the reason for that, because you have to, again, you have to update this, and then the waveforms of these audio tracks will appear. So great. Unfortunately, we have to do the same for the overviews. So now the Roland will be sending the overviews of this. So you can see that the first already appeared here. And now I will put the tracks back to the playback. I will move a little bit and start playing. So the data that you see here is, of course, it's coming from the from Roland, and it goes through the SPDIF as the main output, and it goes to this Moto interface, and then it goes to the speaker that I have underneath here. Anyway, so that's how you can really use this together, and it's integrated into the same environment with other tracks, with a bunch of the other instruments, and it's honestly, it's free for CPU. It doesn't take that much CPU resources. But the other cool things that not only this, you can control many things that so tough and difficult to control from this interface. And well, I don't know, maybe I'm too new for this, I'm not sure, but you can control some parameters like extended parameters from the Logic in much better and easier way. Well, first of all, these are my tracks, right? I can group them to be a stereo linked, and I have to do that per project. Even if it's stereo linked here, this information doesn't go here. I have to do that manually. And then if I do that and adjust the volume, it obviously it will change the volume here. That way I can use all the Logic automation for this. But also the great and the most interesting thing to me personally is that I have full access to the 4 FX units of the VS-1680 because I have two FX cards installed here, and I can edit all the parameters of the FX units like it would be a plugin. So I can actually use that as a very intelligent FX unit that is fully integrated in a workflow. If I want to record it inside here, I can do that with a single button, but also because it's connected over SPDIF, I can record that to the ACO track, and then it will go through the Motu interface. Great setup, and so easy, so well thought, honestly. I haven't seen that failing. I haven't seen any type of the, I don't know, faults or hangs. Yeah, sometimes it takes longer to get to the communication between these two, but it's just a, I don't know, clicking the retry button that you saw in the beginning when I started Logic 6, and that's it. So if you have access to these, they go so cheap these days. I highly recommend you doing this. And if you are in the mood of doing some audio production on the Mac OS 9, certainly, well, keep in mind this. This is a great box, quiet, well, low power, but still highest performance OS 9 setup that you can get these days. With this, I think I covered everything that I wanted to talk today, and thank you for staying until the end, and see you next time and talk about something great again. Goodbye.